Good morning. It's Wednesday, December 3rd. I'm Miriam Bosiljevets. Acacho First Nations have called for a temporary ban of hunting caribou along the Tibet to Kontoito Winter Road for 5 years. Delegates from the Yellowknives Dene, Lutsike Dene, and Daninikwu First Nations first approved the resolution at the recent Acacho General Assembly. The First Nations said the moratorium should be revisited annually and be lifted once caribou numbers have returned to acceptable limits. Currently, hunting of barren ground caribou is prohibited within a designated zone that moves over time based on the location of Bathurst caribou. The Assembly of First Nations Chiefs meeting in Ottawa rejected the recent pipeline deal between Canada and Alberta. A unanimous vote yesterday fully supports First Nations in British Columbia that oppose changes to the oil tanker ban. Prime Minister Mark Carney spoke to the Assembly and said projects can only move forward with First Nations. On the agenda today is a plan to reform the child welfare system. Last week, the Dene Nation said it's exploring greater jurisdiction over child and family services, and without the government of the Northwest Territories acting as an intermediary for the funds. NWT Education Minister Caitlin Cleveland says new reports of unsafe lead levels in schools show territory-wide testing is working, but there's a broader lack of cash to maintain school buildings. The Territory has not regularly tested school water for lead until now, and the new program caught elevated levels of lead in data last week. The minister said she's concerned about the lack of school infrastructure funding. For the full interview and to learn which schools are being tested next, visit CabinRadio.ca. Yellowknife Street Outreach Program will move from 1-year to 3-year operating contracts. The City of Yellowknife received funding from the federal government in October to expand the program. Councillor Tom McLennan said this will allow the service provider to build experience and provide more certainty to potential staff. Outreach vehicles, contracted by the city for just under a decade, provide safe rides to vulnerable people. On day 2 of the 2026 budget discussions last night, city councillors cut more than $500,000 by scaling back plans to improve downtown cleanliness in winter. But a $560,000 plan to rebuild the Pilot's Monument steps survived an attempt to delete it from the budget. The plan will involve making the climb more accessible. The YK Fieldhouse track and playground will remain free after fees were first dropped a year ago due to a staffing issue. City Council heard positive feedback after the change was made. The city expects to lose about $149,000 in annual revenue through the move. And this Saturday, 2 groups will host a community vigil in Yellowknife to mark National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. A rose-laying ceremony and guest speakers will be hosted by the Status of Women Council of the NWT and the YWCA NWT. The vigil is open to everyone to attend and starts at 3 p.m. at the Prince of Wales Northern Heritage Centre's Cafe on the 2nd floor. Your weather forecast for today: Yellowknife -12 with snow, Inuvik -18 with periods of light snow, Norman Wells -12 with snow, Hay River -9 with light snow, Fort Smith -13 with periods of light snow, and Fort Simpson -11 with a chance of flurries.